Will Levis just absolutely cooked in his NFL debut. Yes, the man that puts mayonnaise in his coffee and eats his bananas with the peels on looked like a stud in his NFL debut. Now, it's only one game, and it might be too early to say this, but it looks like the Titans may have just found their future quarterback. So the Tennessee Titans beat the Atlanta Falcons 28-23 in a game that was pretty uncertain for Tennessee coming into it. Prior to the game, it was said that both Malik Willis and Will Levis were going to share snaps this game. Malik Willis did start the game, but then he had a botched fumble and Atlanta recovered it, and from there on out, it was the Will Levis show. Levis ended up having a pretty good day, going 19 of 29 for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yes, 4 touchdowns. For reference, in 3 games Malik Willis started last season, he didn't have any passing touchdowns. Now, it wasn't hard to see that Will Levis clearly found a favorite target on the team, and that was DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sure Tennessee fans are super stoked to see D-Hop get this type of production, but he looked like he still had a lot in the tank for a 31-year-old. That connection between Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins in this game just felt magical. Hopkins had 4 catches for 128 yards and 3 touchdowns. But it wasn't like DeAndre Hopkins was the only guy Levis was getting the ball to. He was also spreading the ball around to a lot of other guys. There were 6 different players that caught a pass, and there were 7 different ones targeted. Of course, the one that was targeted without a catch was Treylon Burks, which, bit of a side note here, to this day, I'm still baffled that the Titans traded away A.J. Brown essentially just for Treylon Burks. That's a boneheaded move looking back at it. You should have just paid the guy. Clearly, A.J. Brown is a stud if you've been watching him in Philly, but hey, you make mistakes and you move on from it. At the very least, at least the quarterback you took in this last year's draft looks pretty solid so far. Derrick Henry also had a good day with over 100 yards rushing, and it was a pretty positive experience from the Tennessee offense in this game. Now, it wasn't perfect. Of course, you got a young quarterback behind center. There are going to be rookie growing pains there, but for the quarterback being in his NFL debut, it's safe to say that this offense looked pretty damn good with the circumstances. Now, on the other sideline was Desmond Ridder, a 2022 third rounder. He started the game and ended up getting evaluated for a concussion later in it, but even after being cleared, the Falcons said screw it and threw out Taylor Heinicke to see if he could do any better. Now, I will say this after watching the game, Taylor Heinicke looked solid. Taylor Heinicke looked about as good as he was in Washington, which isn't gonna blow you away, but he could win games for you, and at the very least, Falcons fans might hate me for this, I do think Taylor Heinicke is an upgrade at the quarterback position for Atlanta. He might not be as safe as Desmond Ridder, but he's gonna give you a lot more big play opportunities than Desmond would. I just have not been that big of a believer in Desmond Ridder. He had that one good week, and I was like, oh shit, he's starting to turn it around, and since then, it just hasn't really been the case. Unfortunately, I think the Falcons are back to the drawing board at quarterback. But on the other hand, it looks like the Titans just found theirs. Now, the Tennessee Titans quarterback situation before the season really was a mess. You have Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, who you drafted 2 drafts ago, and Will Levis, who you just took in this draft. Everyone didn't know who was going to go out there and start in week 1, and shocker, it was Ryan Tannehill. So coming into this game, Ryan Tannehill was out with an ankle injury, and Mike Vrabel said that the Titans would rotate quarterbacks with Malik Willis and Will Levis. As you know, Malik Willis was a 3rd round rookie last season, and in the time that he did get to start, it was super ugly. He started in 3 games, played in 8, completed 50.8% of his passes, no passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, rushed 27 times for 123 yards and a touchdown. It was a pretty ugly showing, and after last season, there were a lot of people skeptical of whether or not Malik Willis could even turn into an NFL starter. Personally, my opinion, I don't think he's NFL starter material. I think he could be a great backup, but I don't think he's a starter. Now, there was still a bit of a rotation in this game, but let's not get it twisted. This was the Will Levis show, and there's no doubt in my mind that he should absolutely get the start for the Titans going forward. You ride the hot hand in this situation. You don't go back to this 1-2 punch at quarterback. Start Will Levis and see what he's got. Of course, like I said earlier, there's going to be rookie growing pains, but from what I saw, this dude has an absolute cannon, and I think he could genuinely lead this team to some wins. But with that being said, if you're going to start Will Levis throughout the rest of the season, there's really no benefit to throwing Tannehill back out there if he does get healthy. I really do think that they should consider trading him at the deadline if anyone's interested. I don't know if anyone will be. He's injured and he is a bit older. Now, at this point, it doesn't really feel like the Titans are much of a contender. It's really the Jaguars division at this point. But that's okay because it really gives you the opportunity to focus on building around Will Levis and kind of helping him progress as a player so that come next season, this team can actually be a true contender. Now, I know we've talked a lot about Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis, but I'm not really sure how the Titans view Malik Willis at this point. His whole situation with the Titans is super confusing at this point because anytime he goes out there, he really does kind of, disappoint, but it also doesn't seem realistic that they're just going to completely take him out of their game plan because, they did trade up for him at the draft. I don't know, Malik Willis really is just an interesting case. Personally, I would love to see him succeed. He went to Liberty, that's a school in the state that I live in, Virginia, but there were plenty of concerns of him coming out of college. Like, they didn't run a pro-style offense. He'd have to learn from scratch how to read NFL defenses, etc. And I think the unfortunate thing is that Malik Willis never really got the investment from the team that he probably should have, which is probably a big reason why he hasn't progressed as well as people may have hoped. But at the end of the day, if you have a quarterback that you just drafted that comes in and absolutely explodes onto the scene, there's really no point in putting in the other guy at that point. Will Levis should for sure get all the starts going forward, barring some crazy mess ups down the stretch. Now, it would be super cool to see Will Levis succeed this season. He was once thought to be a top player in the draft class. Like, prior to last season, the dude was thought to be one of the best quarterbacks in the upcoming draft, and then out of nowhere, he suddenly wasn't even a first rounder. The script on Will Levis really did flip because he had a kind of lackluster season. But at this point, again, I know it's only one game, it really does look that the Titans lucked into him because there's a reason he was once viewed as a first round pick. He just looks like a good quarterback prospect. He's a pocket passer with an insane cannon for an arm and had a lot of success in a pro-style offense at Kentucky. I don't think anyone really has any doubts that he doesn't have the arm strength to be an NFL quarterback because he certainly does, but the accuracy can definitely be a problem sometimes. Now, another factor I think is like if he wasn't a 24-year-old prospect, I do think he would have gotten drafted a lot higher, but regardless, he still looked good in college. He did start 2 years in college, both of those at Kentucky. His best season was definitely in 2021 when he threw for 24 touchdowns and ran for 9 more. But before that, he was actually at Penn State for 3 seasons, but was stuck behind Sean Clifford. He opted to just leave Penn State and be the guy at Kentucky, but I don't think he'll be waiting too long to be the guy in the pros. It feels like everything is starting to come together for Will Levis to take the throne as the franchise quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. It feels like for so long that Ryan Tannehill has kind of been this cap on the success of the Titans. I'm not saying he hasn't looked really good in years past, like when he came to Tennessee and took over the starting role the year that Mariota got benched. It was amazing. The comeback player of the year storyline was so good to see, and I loved that for Ryan Tannehill. But, he's getting older, and it's time for a new face of the franchise to step up. And I think that face is Will Levis. At this point, this season really feels like it's all about the future for the Titans. If Will Levis can continue to develop and turn into a viable NFL quarterback, that'll be huge for this team. Now, I don't personally see the Titans somehow winning the AFC South or really even slipping into a wild card spot for that matter, but it's the NFL and anything's really possible. But at the very least, Levis should be getting in there, getting game reps, and getting game experience. And as long as he's doing that, he's going to progress. With the quarterback situation being such a cluster before the season, I really do think the Titans have kind of played this whole situation out pretty well. You have a good veteran quarterback in Ryan Tannehill that can let a young rookie quarterback learn from him. Now, they obviously didn't have to truly bench Tannehill, but he got hurt, and that opened up the door for the Titans to get a look at their second round pick, and he looked pretty damn good. Levis was fun to watch in college and has some really good tools on it. There's a reason teams were so interested in him prior to the draft. Now it's finally time for him to prove himself as the guy in Tennessee and hopefully show that he can be the franchise quarterback of the future. He definitely looked the part in week 8. Now it's really just time for them to name him the starter. Thank you guys for watching the video and making it all the way to the end of this one. Let me know what you guys think of Will Levis down in the comment section. I'm pretty on board with the hype. I know I've said this multiple times, it's only one game, but I really want to hear what you guys think about him. He looked really good in week 8. So yeah, let me know. Do you think this success can continue or was this a one-off show? Let me know down below and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.